Hello, my name is Halandzovskyi. Today, we are looking at transatlantic efforts to counter foreign disinformation from Russia and China. Reports about US-EU coordination are mixed, so I will focus on what is confirmed, what has changed, and what to watch next. If you find this useful, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. And thank you to all of Ukraine's partners for your continued help and support. First, the headlines. European officials say the United States has notified partners that it is terminating several cooperation memoranda on combating foreign disinformation. According to multiple reports, these agreements were part of a wider network built in recent years to share signals about hostile information operations. The change follows earlier steps in Washington to scale down parts of the federal apparatus that dealt with foreign influence campaigns. In parallel, Europe continues to treat foreign information manipulation and interference as a strategic threat, especially around elections, sanctions debates, and support to Ukraine. Second, what this does and does not mean. Ending certain memoranda does not erase every channel. Intelligence sharing among allies continues under other frameworks. Diplomatic coordination also continues on sanctions, export controls, and cybersecurity. But the specific projects that focused on publicly exposing foreign narrative campaigns will likely shrink or move into European-led formats. That shift matters because hostile actors exploit gaps between jurisdictions, platforms, and languages. Third, why this issue stays urgent. Russian state and proxy outlets push tailored narratives to fragment Western audiences, question support for Ukraine, and undermine elections. Chinese state channels amplify selected talking points, including narratives about economic coercion and the reliability of Western alliances. Both adapt quickly to platform rules and use cross-border page networks to avoid enforcement. Finally, the immediate picture. European services keep publishing threat briefs on coordinated inauthentic behavior, bot amplification, and cross-platform laundering of claims. They also track how AI tools lower the cost of making convincing false content. For viewers, the practical takeaway is simple. Check provenance, look for primary sources, and be wary of screenshots or clips that lack traceable context. Let us unpack Europe's current toolbox and where transatlantic work still overlaps. The European External Action Service treats foreign information manipulation as a behavior to be analyzed and disrupted. Their approach combines detection, attribution where possible, platform engagement, and public briefings on campaigns that target EU audiences. Several member states run their own centers that interface with this network and contribute case studies, data, and forensic methods. Under the Digital Services Act, large platforms in the EU face duties to assess systemic risks, including the spread of disinformation during elections and crises. When state-linked outlets or coordinated networks breach these rules, regulators can compel risk mitigation, demand transparency on recommender systems, and impose fines for non-compliance. Sanctions add another layer. The EU has restricted the distribution of certain Russian state media and repeatedly listed entities that enable Moscow's information warfare. Transatlantic overlap still exists, even as some US programs wind down. Law enforcement and cyber agencies cooperate on takedowns of botnets and infrastructure that support influence operations. Diplomats coordinate messaging when hostile states push synchronized narratives around major events, like mass missile strikes on Ukraine or energy price spikes. Economic measures are also aligned more closely than before. European envoys have held talks in Washington on updating sanctions, including new listings and enforcement against evasion networks. Even if approaches differ, there is recognition that financial pressure and information resilience work better together than apart. Another piece is civil society and the private sector. Universities, fact-checking consortia, and independent investigators have matured since the early years of the war. They publish open data sets, analyze multilingual networks, and map cross-posting patterns between fringe sites and state outlets. These groups are not a substitute for government action, but they increase transparency and help journalists, platforms, and policymakers spot repeat tactics. For audiences, 3 habits raise resilience. Follow the source trail to the earliest credible report. Compare how multiple reputable outlets describe the same claim. And remember that emotionally charged posts often arrive first, while careful confirmations take longer. What happens next, and how should we read the policy signals? First, watch for formal EU statements detailing how they will expand their foreign information manipulation work without US memoranda in place. Expect more public threat reports, more enforcement actions under the Digital Services Act, and closer ties with NATO centers focused on hybrid threats. Second, look for new US-EU coordination lanes that are not labeled as disinformation programs, but still matter, such as sanctions design, export controls on dual-use tech, and cyber defense cooperation. These measures can raise the cost of running influence operations by constraining money, logistics, and technology access. Third, track the electoral calendar and crisis windows. Hostile narrative campaigns spike during elections, during major battlefield events in Ukraine, and when governments negotiate big packages like sanctions or security guarantees. In these moments, you will see recycled storylines push through new voices. Knowing the pattern helps you recognize it faster. Fourth, monitor platform policies. Large services will publish their election and crisis integrity plans. The details matter: how they detect state-linked networks, how quickly they act on cross-platform clusters, how they treat synthetic media, and how they provide data access to independent researchers. If policies look strong, but transparency is weak, scrutiny will grow. Fifth, expect debates inside allied capitals about trade-offs. Democracies try to expose manipulative behavior without policing opinion. That tension will not go away. Clearer definitions, better evidence standards, and sustained transparency help maintain trust while limiting hostile interference. The bottom line is practical. Regardless of agency charts, cooperation among allies is still possible through diplomacy, cyber teams, sanctions work, and shared analysis. Europe appears set to carry more of the public-facing load on foreign information manipulation, while the United States may prioritize other instruments. Either way, the threat landscape is active, adaptive, and global. Please subscribe and like to help more people find clear, verified updates. And thank you to all of Ukraine's partners for your steadfast support.